All right. Well, I guess happy 4th weekend to everybody, and thank you for coming to this Saturday meditation. I see the Saturday meditations are now filling up like the Wednesday meditations, which is beautiful. I love to see people and bodies in here so that we can have a good collective energy. On that, talking about collective energies, we're going to go into the discussion of the topic that I'm going to go over today. And I have had a couple of people ask me recently about CERN, and I actually didn't really know too much about it until people kept asking me. So I said, well, maybe I need to research this a little bit. And I did. And so today I'm going to give you my viewpoint on it, my opinion, and it's kind of like everybody's got their own opinions. I've seen it from the perspective when it comes from the church. I've seen it from the perspective when it comes from science, and I've seen it just from on cultures. So very unique dispositions out there about CERN and the positions people take. It's pretty interesting. When you watch them, you start to see one group is projecting fear, one group is projecting science and just openness and learning, and another group is projecting, their own cultism as far as how to do ritualistic things. So it's very interesting from the different perspectives. So first of all, CERN is a company that is in, I think it's Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken, and they have basically built an underground generator, which is a particle splitter. And basically what it does is splits atoms, and it splits the atoms and spins them and has a generator that makes them move at the speed of light or beyond, so that they can basically bang into each other and create antimatter, or create an opening, which basically is a portal. So in essence, what's happening is you have scientists that are now trying to recreate the Big Bang so they can find out what the theory is, because the Big Bang is a theory. None of us were around to see it, so all is just theory. And they are trying to figure out how the Big Bang actually happened. So they're trying to create that. However, when you create that, you're creating dark matter and dark energy. You're opening portals. Now, if you look at it sometimes in a biblical sense, it talks about the portals of darkness and the fallen angels are being released. Now, there is some truth to that energy. However, it's not 100% true. It is a part of what's happening. Definitely when you open these portals, you are going to open the door to everything. In meditation, I talk about it all the time, and that's why we do so many prayers, and we open ourselves to the benevolence within ourselves, and we look at the light within ourselves, and we go through that light so that we can stay protected. Now, when we start opening portals, and this is what CERN is doing, CERN is basically trying to create a portal to bring in antimatter, or dark energy and dark matter, so that they can stay. And their thing is very just scientific. Like, we just want to know. We want to see if we can recreate the Big Bang. We want to see what happens, and we want to be able to bring this energy in and knowledge in to create a better Earth. So that's their take on it, and that's what they're saying. However, honestly, my belief is there's always going to be something a little bit more that they don't tell you about whenever they're doing this kind of research. They even go in to talk about CERN, and in front of the building they have a statue of Lord Shiva. Now, if you understand Lord Shiva in the Hindi, Lord Shiva is the destroyer, but also the creator. So they're putting spiritual connotations with scientific truths that they understand. So it's kind of like trying to marry the facts or the space of physical and spiritual, or science and spirit, which is probably not a bad thing, but you really have to take your time and think about what this actually is, because you have the scientists that don't necessarily believe in God. Some of them are atheists, and some of them believe in the Big Bang Theory only. So when they do this, they don't really understand what they're doing. If you're a spiritualist, you understand what happens when those portals open. If you've ever taken a class that I taught called The Structure of Your Spirit, or The Structure of My Spirit, I talk about the different dimensions. And what they're doing with opening portals is nothing more than what the spiritualists are doing when we walk through portals of light to go in and get information or contact benevolent beings. And then there are people that actually go into dark matter as well. And that's the point I want to make about the dimensions. We talk about the structure of our spirit. In the fourth dimension, there are 7 levels. The first 2 levels are the most gross and most dense levels of energy, of antimatter. That is a place you never want to go to. Even as an occultist or a spiritualist, you don't want to go in there because you're going into pure darkness. And pure darkness will attract the darkness within yourself and will amplify it if you're not careful and are not understanding of what and who you are. One of the main reasons that I don't teach magic anymore, I only teach people to find themselves and find the light. Because when you find the light, then you can do whatever you want to do because the darkness won't ever overtake you. In theory. So I'll say that. But when you have a better chance of staying in light when you have an understanding of who you are and what direction you're going in. But CERN is opening portals. And actually it's supposed to be on July 5th or 6th of this year. So it should be this week. They're actually going to spin this thing up to its highest potential, and they're going to open the portals and see what happens. And they honestly don't know what's going to happen. They just know that they're spinning these, they're creating these generators, and they're spinning these particles of atoms and allowing them to collide to create an opening, and they don't know what's going to happen. So what do we do in that case? As spiritualists, as human beings, when you open that portal, what happens if darkness comes through? If the antimatter comes through, and it comes through at the density of level 1 and level 2 from the 4th dimension. Now, that's not even to say if it's going to open up from the 4th dimension, it could come from a much higher dimension. We don't know. So the best thing that we can do is understand we have to find the light within ourselves. When we find that light within ourselves, we're protected from everything of darkness. And so we can't just disregard what they're doing, because if they bring in those lower densities, or if those lower densities come in, then we're going to have to deal with some type of chaos. But the only way you can deal with chaos is to be at peace with yourself. So if we don't understand, or if we don't find the light within, then the darkness is unleashed, or the chaos is unleashed, will attach to us and amplify within ourselves. So what we have to do is find the light. And if we find the light and stay in the light, then at that point, we don't have to worry about the chaos bothering us or destroying us. So with CERN, the other thing is they are trying to find out, the workings of God, because they're looking for the God particle in human beings, and they're trying to see what it does. And if you ever have studied with me the 7 Hermetic Principles, you understand we will never know God as what God does and why God does things. We will never know God's reasoning. So let me say that. We can know God, but we'll never know God's reasonings or God's how. We'll never know that. As human beings, it's too vast for us. So I would say for anybody that is dealing with opening portals, you have to be very careful, because when you open that portal, you're going to go into a dimension where everything can come through. It's speculated that there's 25% of darkness or dark matter, dark energy that is in this universe. So we basically are more so in light, and we are light. So if we go into our light, find our light, this is the only way that we're going to be able to keep ourselves safe. The more that we find our own light, the more we generate light in others, the safer everybody will be. So my suggestion is this: through meditation, through studies, through prayer, find your light and illuminate that light as bright as you can. That means avoid all negativity or negative actions, malice behavior. Avoid it, because that is the only way to stay in your light. So we'll see what's going to happen, in a few days when they open this portal and what happens. Now, they said there's more than one portal. This one that CERN is building in Switzerland is about 17 miles of circumference. So literally you have a 17-mile circumference or 17-mile portal hole that's going to open, which is like a black hole. But you have to think about 17 miles on the grand scheme of things. It's a little bitty speck. And so that's what we got to understand. But we have to bring in the light of God, the energy within ourselves, the light within ourselves, so that we can block, defend, or deflect what is coming, or can keep it in control. But we'll see. We never know. So I'm going to open the floor up to any questions to anybody who might want to ask me something about it. I kind of just went over it pretty quickly. Just in essence with CERN. CERN is basically has an antiparticle machine that's basically breaking particles of atoms down. And the particles of atoms they're breaking down, they're then allowing the particles to bang into each other, to collide, so that they can create a disruption in a space, in a symmetrical figure. And when they do that, then they create instability and it opens a hole. When it opens a hole, there's a portal that we'll go into that can bring something back, or we can go into it, or something can come out of it. Right now, they're just trying to see what they can bring out of it so they can reproduce the Big Bang. That is kind of it in a nutshell. Now, the spiritual aspect of it, now, if you start to tap into Lord Shiva is an Hindi god that is the destroyer and the creator. When you start to bring that in it, that kind of steps outside of science now. Now you're stepping into spirit, which is interesting that they're looking at that. So it must be the scientists are starting to figure out there's something that is part of spirit that is part of science as well. So again, when we're looking at Lord Shiva is a destroyer, but you got to also remember Lord Shiva is also a creator. And Lord Shiva destroys the darkness through darkness. So it's a whole nother aspect. Like I say, it's confusing because people are getting so much information and misinformation. But if you start to really just look at the underlying factors and facts of what they're doing, opening portals, and actually even mimicking Lord Shiva and how that works. So they might be, and this is my opinion, my speculation, they might be a little worried about what happens when they open that up. So they might want to be bringing in some spiritual energy to actually activate or control what comes out of that hole, or that comes out of that portal. We'll see. We just don't know. But anyway, any questions? Yes.
Why is this coming to the forefront now? Because that facility has been there for years.
Mm-hmm.
It's not brand new.
Yeah.
It was down for about 3 years, and they just brought it back up.
Yeah, and it's probably coming out now because they are getting to the point where the generator is working, so it can actually create the portal. Before they had enough power, or they had half power, and they doubled the machine's power, so that they could actually make it work. So that's why, it's coming to the forefront now because everything else is going on. If you look at, honestly, everything that's going on in the world, there's so much stuff going on, Roe versus Wade, all these things, our minds are focused on something else. What is it doing? It's lowering our vibrations. And when our vibrations are lowered, and then they come back and they talk about CERN opening this portal and they're bringing darkness through. What do you think the darkness is going to do? The darkness is going to attack those people that are in a lower vibration. So then it begins to bring more of the collective down in their frequency, and it begins to be more susceptible to attacks. So creating fear. So now it is a time if people are starting to talk about it because number one, it's going to come up and it's actually going to happen. And we're going to see what's going on. 2-3 years ago when they built the thing, they didn't know what was going to happen. So, don't deal with it until you know something's going on. But there's a lot of research, and there's not just one. There's like 7 of them. That's been built all across the world. Another question?
Well, we're in the time of light, right? Since, I can't remember, 2012?
2012, mm-hmm.
It made more sense if you wanted to do that, to do it in the time of darkness, where it would be, in my mind, easier.
Yeah. Well, it might be easier, but it also be completely uncontrollable.
Right, I think because people are waking up, they want to keep us asleep.
Yeah, and then scientists didn't have they probably didn't have the resources at that point how to build it. Because remember, scientists were so egotistical and arrogant that they were like, this is the only way. So, spiritual thing has nothing to do with it. But they start to realize that something is going on. It's really funny when they start talking about the human being and traveling in portals. And they keep acting as if, or people keep acting as if there's a separation between the human being and the consciousness. Where the consciousness and the human being are the same thing, except for the consciousness can travel where the physical matter can't. So we become antimatter when we travel. It's a spiritual being. So, I mean, there's just so much to this whole aspect. But if you are a spiritualist, you've been studying spirituality, if you've been meditating, if you've been traveling through astral projection, going through portals of light, you've already been doing these things. And you understand what to do to protect yourself. Now, today's meditation is about going in and fortifying this energy of our own light so we can build up barriers of light around us that can't be penetrated by this darkness. So once we do this, and it's going to take you all to practice, to actually not allow darkness to come in, you're going to recognize it fast, and then you have a choice. You have your free will to either partake in going down that rabbit hole of negativity or negative thought process, or I don't like to say negative, but I would say doing something that is malevolent, or doing something of a lower vibration versus doing something of a high vibration. So it's pretty, I mean, we always got a choice. And that's the thing, once we become aware, we always know we have a choice. And then it's what we choose. And then that's what we got to deal with. Every negative thought, when we make action, it becomes part of us permanently. Then we have to rectify it. What was that, 490 times? You know, apologies. You know, if you understand the course of restructuring the spirit and rectifying negativity. That's a whole other class, though.
Animal core. That's all I get to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really.
So if you understand the animal core will open up light around you, learn it, and you'll protect yourself.
You're looking, I have so many questions, but I don't even know where to start. But this is the first time they're doing something like this, particularly.
On this
Yeah.
Lord soul.
Not the first time.
They've been doing
Yeah,
it
they've
for
been
some
doing it.
time, but
Okay.
this is
On this magnitude of 17 miles, that's a big portal.
Yeah, because I'm like, but so we'll feel that all the way over there.
We could, very possibly, because we don't know what the portal's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you open a portal, you might bring in 75% light and 25% darkness, but or dark matter, dark energy.
Mhm.
The dark matter is what you want to be concerned about.
So right now we're at only 25% darkness on
Well,
Earth.
that's pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much.
There's a lot going on with that 25%.
That part,
Yeah.
that part.
I thought we were.
That part.
No, it's very chaotic
Seriously?
right now. Like the energy
Seriously?
is super low and it's very chaotic, and it's like every day it's like
Some.
worse and worse and
But
worse.
But that's to build the fear.
there
That's
you go.
right.
And then the
Lower
other thing is too is
vibrations
even it goes into recreating or changing the body structure. And when you start to change the body structure, that goes back into the COVID shot, which then again starts to do different things with the body. You know, and that's a whole other scientific issue with how that shot works within your body and how it can. Some people say it reconstructs the DNA. Some people say it doesn't, and you know, then some people say there's nanotechnology in it. You never know what's going on. But again, it's the the deception, the separation, and the fear that's being created.
So it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like very worse, very worse.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse. But worse is only a state of mind.
There you go.
Because if you're
Yeah.
if you're in a mindset that is in a higher spiritual frequency, you won't ever experience it. It's just like every time I tell
Yeah.
people to vibrate above chaos, you're gonna experience the chaos. The chaos is only for the people that's in chaos.
Yeah.
That choose to be in that vibration. So let's say if the vibration level is at 1,000 and chaos starts at 400. If the vibration of your frequency is 400, you're gonna experience every bit of chaos that's there. But if you come up to 401, you're gonna be out of it, but you can still be susceptible to it. You get up to 500, 600, then all of a sudden you don't feel anything. Your reality is a totally different reality, because remember, we're still creators, we're co-creators with the Creator. We're still part of God. And God is still creating and amplifying the light within us. When we go into that and only that, that's when the chaos can't find us.
But I would say that, like, even though you might be living in this world where you don't have the chaos, it's just realizing it's there, like knowing that it's there, even though you're not in it. It's like it's hard to ignore everything that's going on.
Oh,
You
it's
don't
not
wanna
hard to
do
ignore
that.
it. Yeah, you don't want to ignore it. It's not about ignoring it. It's about raising your vibration to the point where you don't experience chaos and teaching someone else to do the same thing, so we eliminate chaos. So it's there, but you know the thing is, we're so worried about what's there and not worried about how to rectify it.
Right.
How we can't rectify it by changing it. We have to change ourselves because we are the chaos. The devil, the demon is us. That's our darkness. That's the 25% of us. We all got it. But the thing is, when you are focused on that, then you stay in that energy.
That's why the love vibration is so important.
Right. That's why love is so important. That's why we have to go into the vibrational love.
Right.
You know, and it's hard sometimes because we're conditioned to be hard and hardened, and we're conditioned to fight.
Yeah.
But that is the survival instinct within us as human beings. So that's just, you know, it's a choice at the end of the day. It is a choice. If you can get your mind wrapped around it, you create the realities. It's your choice. Then you can move out of it. And you can move wherever you want to move, and you can experience whatever you want to experience. But the thing is, the reality sometimes is so dense that we're in that we won't let go of that reality that we can change it because we're so used to dealing with it. And sometimes we just want to stay in it until we're removed from it, and then we realize we don't have to be there. And then we can take ourselves out of it. So it's kind of like if you want to heal someone, take them out of the dark energy, the lower vibration, and they can allow themselves to heal and to find out something different and teach them to go into that light. Create the habit, a new habit, and you won't go back into the old. But I mean, we're duality. So that's part of this earthly journey. Everybody's supposed to get their experience however they're supposed to get it. And we just have to be okay with the choices that each person makes because it's their free will.
But in this lifetime, are we going to see it go back up?
Oh yeah, we'll see it go back up. It's always up. It's ebbing and flowing all the time. Rhythm is always part of life. It's not that we're going to be in a rhythm of a low flow forever. I mean, but again, when you understand polarization or neutrality or the law of neutralization, do you want to see and be in chaos, or do you want to choose to see something different? Because when you choose to see something different from a different perspective, then you start to see that darkness is helping you to become light.
Well, yeah, you get the awareness. I see people being more aware.
Yeah.
Like the awareness
That's the first step.
Yeah.
That's the first
Like
step.
I feel like there's more of a conscious awareness.
Yeah. And that's the consciousness are waking up right now. So now we're
'Cause we're
starting
in
to
the
question
enlightened
everything. We're in the light,
stage,
yeah,
yeah.
we're not, but we're new. I mean, we're babies in this.
Yeah, we're babies.
It's
yeah.
only 10 years.
Right.
You know, we're only 10 years in.
Yeah,
Not even
compared to
14
thousands
years.
of years
Because of 10,000
being
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of DNA that's
Yeah.
been passed down from
Right.
darkness. Oh man, we're babes.
Right.
We're infants, newborns, neonites. So we're just trying to figure it out at this point. But the thing is, have fun figuring it out. But if you always focus on that light and always focus on prayer, meditation, and God, you'll be able to come into anything you need to come into. And always do the righteousness. I mean, always find ways to find the light within yourself. And when you find the light, express the light. That is the key point. Expressing the light means we're living in it. Expression means we're doing it. Expression means it's part of us, and then it becomes part of our DNA. So any action that we do from a thought becomes part of our DNA. So the more action we do that is of light, the more light becomes of us. We begin to remember more. That's the only way to do it. But you got people that's in the thing like, hey, I'm light, but then they turn over here and they go on to do this, and it's not so light. And then they come back and they, hey, you know, this, and they're kind of teetering and tottering back and forth. And that's part of the soul's maturity. Sometimes people have to experience that until they realize that, I'm tricking myself.
Yeah.
You know? Any other questions? Jay, you got any questions for me?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay. Did you get a better understanding of it?
That was pretty much, we on the same. I was just making sure.
Okay,
It
cool.
was good, but yeah,
Cool.
that's what I took from
Yeah.
it as well.
Yeah, it's you know, human beings trying to play with God. They're trying to know God's way. It ain't gonna happen. That's all I can say. So all of us that understand that, go deeper into God and just trust. It's going in their faith, because this thing right here can never figure out the infinite knowledge that's in this. It never will. So it's gotta be what it gotta be.
Are these the same people connected to like all the people that are just trying to control the entire?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
These are some scientists that are just like, hey, we're on
Maybe
a
employed
wing
by
to,
them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
They're just really
it
trying
seems
to
like-
figure out like
What-
how.
Yeah, what are you gonna create a whole nother Earth? Like what they're trying to figure out?
Well, I mean, when you open them portals,
Yeah, but
I mean, that's all I can say.
Well, it's very interesting that if a majority of them are atheists, that they
Mm-hmm.
are aware that there's a God particle. That is very interesting, and that says that
That's
they know
contradictory.
more than
Then they letting us know.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying. If you got scientists with Lord Shiva That is a direct contradiction. And they actually did a ritual where they were supposed to have taken the life of a woman, spilling blood. And when you spill blood, blood is the DNA that holds the darkness. It can then be basically assumed by any energies coming through that portal. And so blood enriches the darkness because blood has the darkness in it. Remember, the DNA or the egoic self is the darkness of the human being, and that's the blood.
Well, that's why they do a lot of blood rituals.
Right. That's the only way to do it because that is the egoic self.
Right.
That is the lower self of the human being or of anything. It's in the blood. So that's why I said wherever blood is spilled, the ground is cursed.
Right.
So, I mean, it's very deep. I mean, it's expansive. So it's like you can go over here, you can go over here, you can go there, you can go into here. It's just so many things. You just have to learn to focus on your light and find a light within yourself and expand. When you find a light within yourself and expand, you go into your heart, and then you get the knowledge, you get the inspirations and understandings of what to do next. So sometimes we're not going to know, but that's trust, faith.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're all about, is going through faith. Okay. All right. Thank you.